Thank you very much indeed. To order, members. It's now 5:30 and time for our meeting of the Council. Now, good evening, members, officers of the Council and members of the press and public. I welcome to this meeting of the Council, known as the Budget Council, setting the finances and the first Council meeting of 2021. Now, prior to this meeting, all participants should have previously checked that they can be heard and seen and can see and hear other members. It is vital that you can be heard, and it is preferred that cameras are kept on throughout the meeting. To double check this and to introduce everyone who is present at this remote meeting, I would kindly ask that I confirm your attendance and your role or job title when I call your name. So starting in alphabetical order, I've got Councillor Alban.
Present Chair and Councillor for Eastcliff Ward and Cabinet Member for Operational Services.
Thank you. Councillor Ara.
Good evening, Chair. Yes, Councillor for Central Harbour in Ramsgate. Thank you.
Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Chair. Westbrook Ward and Shadow Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey.
Present Chair, Viking Ward Councillor.
Councillor Bambridge. Councillor Bambridge. I'll come back.
No, it's okay. Sorry, Chairman. The mute button wasn't working. Present Councillor for Westgate-on-Sea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jill Bayford.
Sorry, Chair. Present Councillor for Bradstow Ward and portfolio holder.
You're cutting in and out. Hello? Councillor Bayford. Are you still with us?
Sorry, Chair. Still, yeah, I'll repeat. Councillor for Bradstow Ward and shadow portfolio holder for housing.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bob Bayford. Councillor Bayford, you wouldn't miss this for worlds.
He was here a moment ago and then the sign came up saying he'd left the meeting, so I think he's probably trying to get back in.
I'll come back. Councillor Boyd.
Present Chair, Councillor for Garland Ward.
Councillor Braidwood.
Going to ask to list his apologies, Chairman. This is Councillor Piper.
Not as yet. I shall be coming back because I'm sure he's with us as he lodged himself previously.
I'm back with you, Chairman, now. Sorry about that.
Excellent. Of course you are, Councillor Bayford. Councillor Braidwood.
I will be announcing his apologies.
Still not here.
Chair. He's not here.
Right. Apologies from Councillor Braidwood. Councillor Campbell. Probably apologies as well, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Coleman-Cook.
Present Chair, Birchington North and Vice Chair of Planning.
Thank you very much. Councillor Christensen.
Present Chair, Councillor for Eastcliff Ward.
Councillor Curry.
Present Chair, Councillor for Cliftonville West.
Councillor Day. Councillor Day. Are you with us, Councillor Day? I'll come back. Councillor Dennis.
Present Chair, Garland Ward.
Councillor Dexter.
Present Chairman, Councillor for St Peter's Ward.
Councillor Duckworth.
Present Chair, Cabinet Member for Estates and Economic Development, Dane Valley Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Everett.
Present Chair, Councillor for Newington and Leader of the Council.
Councillor Farrance. Councillor Farrance. I shall come back. Councillor Fellows.
Yeah, evening Chair, Birchington South.
Thank you. Councillor Game.
Present Chair, Councillor for Cliftonville East.
Thank you. Councillor Garner.
Present, Councillor for St Peter's Ward, Leader of the Green Group.
Thank you. Councillor Green. Councillor Green. Yes.
Present, Councillor for Nethercourt.
Thank you. Councillor Hart. I can see you.
Here, Chair. Councillor for Thanet Villages.
Thank you. Councillor Hopkinson.
Yeah, I'm here, Chair. Councillor for Moses Montefiore Ward and Ramsgate.
Thank you. Councillor Huxley.
Here, Chair. I'm East Cliff Councillor in Ramsgate.
Thank you. Councillor Keane. Councillor Keane. I shall come back. Councillor Cupp.
Present Chair, Councillor for Birchton South and Shadow Cabinet Member for Operational Services.
Thank you. Councillor Patmore.
Here, Chair. Councillor for Sir Moses Montefiore.
Thank you. Councillor Paulmore.
Present Chair, Councillor for Beacon Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Ovenden.
Present Chair, Member for Nethercourt.
Councillor Parsons.
Good evening, Chair. Councillor for Bradstow.
Thank you. Councillor Linda Piper.
Present Chair, Councillor for Northwood.
Councillor Stuart Piper.
Present Chair, Councillor for Northwood and Leader of the Thanet Independents.
Thank you. Councillor Potts. Councillor Potts. I shall come back. Councillor Pugh.
Present Chair, Councillor for Thanet Villages Ward and Shadow Deputy Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Rattigan.
Here, Chair, Councillor for Clifton Ends and Pegwell.
Councillor Rolfe.
Present Chair, Councillor for Beacon Ward.
Councillor Rogers. Councillor Rogers. I shall come back. Councillor Roper.
Present Chair, Councillor for Thanet Villages.
Thank you. Councillor Rozecki.
Present Chair, Councillor for Northwood Ward and Deputy Leader of the Thanet Independents.
Thank you. Councillor David Saunders. Councillor David Saunders.
Here, Chair. Sorry about that. The mute button would. Here, Chair. Viking Wall Councillor, Shadow Cabinet Member for Finance.
Thank you very much. Councillor Maeve Saunders. I'm sure you're here. There you are. I've got you.
Present Chairman, Viking Ward, Paul Stairs and Chairman of Joint Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Scobie.
Present Chair, Cliftonville West.
I have apologies from Councillor Scott already. Councillor Shrub.
Here, Chair, and Cliftonville East.
Thank you. Councillor Tomlinson.
Here, Chair. Good evening. Councillor for Westbrook and Chair of Planning.
Thank you. Councillor Towning.
Good evening. Councillor for Cliftonville East.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
Present Chair. Councillor for Margate Central, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Holder for Housing and Safer Communities.
That's right. Thank you. Councillor Wing.
Present Chair, Central Harbour, Ramsgate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
South Birchington Ward and Vice Chairman of the Council.
Quite so. Councillor Yates.
Present Chair, Margate Central Ward and Cabinet Member for Finance, Administration and Community Wealth Building.
Just as well. You're important tonight. Now, going back, Councillor Bob Bayford. Yes, I did have. Councillor Campbell, are there apologies or are you with us?
Chairman, if I can, Councillor Alban, Chairman,
yes.
If I can give apologies for Councillor Campbell, he's in hospital, Chairman. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure we're all very sorry to hear that, indeed. Councillor Day, coming back to you. Are you there, Councillor Day? I think we'll have to mount Councillor Day down as absent. Councillor Green. Councillor Green, are you with us now?
Yes, Chair, present.
Great. And you are which ward?
Nethercourt and Southwood wards.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Keane, coming back to you. Are you with us now?
Chair, Councillor Keane sends her apologies. And can I also point out that Councillor Gregory is in attendance as well?
Right, I shall check that. Yes, I've got her down as in attendance, actually. Thank you. Councillor Potts, are you with us now?
I'll give Councillor Potts apologies, Chair.
Right, okay, I have those now. Councillor Rogers.
Present, Chair. Councillor for Cliffsend and Pegwell.
Excellent. Right, I think I've got a record, everybody present, absent and attendances. We also have in attendance tonight the Chief Executive, Ms Homer, the Deputy Chief Executive, Mr Willis, the Director of Operational Services, Mr Waite, the Director of Law and Democracy, Ms Culligan, and the Committee Services Manager, Mr Hughes. Now, if you have technical difficulties during the meeting, then please contact one of the Democratic Service officers on call who will attempt to assist you. I would ask participants, when you are not speaking, please mute your microphones. This minimises background noise and will help everyone in listening to the proceedings. Microphones must only be on if the participant has been granted permission to speak. To gain my permission to speak, please very briefly indicate on the chat to the right side of the screen. I will then make a note and go back to you once the person speaking has finished. I shall just put mine on now to make certain I've got you up. That's it. Now then, please note this meeting is being live streamed for members of the public, except for any item of business where exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and public from the meeting. This meeting is also being recorded and will be subsequently broadcast on the internet. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and they are not used to make or receive phone calls whilst the meeting is in progress. Do not turn your phone off, as it will make it harder for any democratic services to contact you should they need to. Please also refrain from checking emails or conducting other business and ensure that you're in a quiet room, free from distractions for the duration of the meeting. Now, agenda item 1, I've had apologies as previously noted. I don't think I need to make a note of any other apologies. Agenda item 2, minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of December 2020. I move the minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 10th of December 2020 be approved as a correct record. Vice Chair, would you please second?
I'll second that, Mr Chairman.
Now, if anyone objects to the minutes, I will then take them as agreed. Thank you. Now, agenda item 3, announcements. I have not been informed of any announcements. One announcement or observation of my own, however. All of us, I'm sure, saw the disappointing Hanbury Parish Council meeting. I'd just like to say that throughout my tenure as chairman, I believe our council meetings have been very well served by members, and I can say I have felt proud to have been chairman throughout. I think you've all represented your wards admirably. We need to carry the public esteem, and I think we have done so here admirably. So thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? I'm not getting any feedback at all, so no one's making any. So straight into agenda item 5, the Treasury Management Strategy for 2021 to 2022. I call upon Councillor Yates. Councillor Yates, are you with us?
Thank you, Chair. This report and annexes the Cabinet approved on the 14th of January, as well as governance and audit on the 25th of November 2020, includes the proposed Treasury Management Strategy Statement, the Minimum Revenue Provision Policy Statement, the Annual Investment Strategy, Capital Strategy, and Non-Treasury Investment Report for 21 to 22. I move the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yates, do you have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that, Chair. Councillor Alban.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Saunders, I believe you'd like a word at this point. Are you there, Councillor Saunders? Are you having trouble with your mute again?
I am indeed. That's most unusual for me, isn't it? Yes. We would just like to record Our appreciation to the Section 151 officer, the Director of Finance, and indeed the whole of the finance team who have contributed to the preparation of the Treasury Management Strategy in what has been challenging circumstances. And I think we all understand that, especially with the added burden of administering the various grants associated with the ongoing COVID pandemic. So on behalf of the Conservative Group, thank you. Thank you all.
I think that's very well said, Councillor Saunders. Thank you very much indeed. Now, the recommendation is that Council approves this report and annexes. So unless anyone objects to the proposal, I will take this as agreed. I'm not seeing any objections. And so therefore, I think we can take that as agreed. Therefore, moving straight on to agenda item 6, the 2021-2022 budget. This item presents the 2021 to 2022 budget for the council and the 2021 to 2025 capital programme. Now, the recommendations will be that the council approves 1, the general fund revenue budget estimates for 2021 to 2022 as approved, assuming a £4.99 increase in the Band D equivalent for council tax. Number 2, the HRA, the Household Revenue Account budget estimate for 2021-22 approved. Number 3, the General Fund and Housing Revenue Account capital programmes for 2021-25 are approved. Number 4, the Flexible Use of Capital Receipt Strategy for 2021-2022 is approved. And number 5, that Section 151 Office Assurance Statement is noted. Can I turn to you, Councillor Yates?
Thank you, Chair. This budget is being presented during an extraordinary time for local council. This time last year, we had no idea how much COVID-19 would affect our lives. Since then, this council has supported vulnerable residents with food parcels and welfare checks, paid over £50 million of grants to struggling businesses, supported the NHS with COVID test centres and vaccination centres, and continued to deliver frontline services. Firstly, I would like to say a big thank you to all our council staff, the NHS, to our community groups, frontline workers, and a thank you to each of our councillors for the work you have done to support the community in this difficult time. And I believe I speak for everyone here when I say that our thoughts are with those who have lost friends and loved ones. This £17 million General Fund budget and £15 million HRA budget covers the period April 2021 to March 2022. And it's worth saying here that for every pound a resident pays in council tax, only 12 pence of it is in relation to Thanet District Council. Given the large cuts to local government that the Conservative government have imposed upon us over the last decade, we're having to increase council tax by 2%. This represents an average annual increase in council tax of £4.99 to a Band D household. But this is not enough to fund local government, and it makes me angry to say that we are once again having to make cuts within Thanet District Council. We, as the Labour administration, have worked hard to challenge the assumptions behind the cuts and reduce the impact on frontline services and redundancies. We are proud to have found the money to allow at least a 1% pay award for our staff who have worked tirelessly over the last year, doing their jobs in exceptional circumstances. Local government has shone during the last year, and we are once again being let down by the central government. Before asking for support for the budget, which has already been shown to councillors at extensive briefings, thanks to our finance officers, I would like to take a moment to pause and run through some of the council's achievements over the last years and use the council's 2019 to 2023 corporate statement as our guide. This will provide our background to what we hope to build on within this year's budget. On growth, we have been awarded £2.7 million for Ramsgate's Future High Street Fund. We have submitted a £29 million bid for Margate Town Deal Board. We have supported the development of a new train station in Thanet Parkway, providing access to London in an hour that will be powered by electric trains and that will bring new jobs and investment. We have set up a successful business engagement Facebook page called Thanet Business Support. This allows us to speak directly to our local businesses, and together with our hardworking finance and grant teams, as already mentioned, we've been able to update individuals on their grants during this very challenging time for business. We have signed up to community wealth building, the basis of which is to encourage large organisations in Thanet to spend their money locally where possible. Within this, we've signed up to a community wealth fund alliance that could bring up to £10 million to five of our most left behind wards. And this is not unique to Thanet. Kent County Council has a scheme called the Kent Pound. And we're trying to use this concept of community wealth building to, when it comes to bringing East Kent housing in-house as well. Tourism continues to be a priority for the district, and we've been supporting businesses through this extremely challenging year and promoting the destination through our tourism and comms teams. Research shows that before COVID, Thanet's visitor economy was valued at £352 million after welcoming 4.6 million visitors in 2019. The number of tourism jobs across the district showed a 9% increase between 2017 and 2019. This equates to 8,664 jobs, which accounts for 20% of Thanet's total employment last year. We've also sold part of Dreamland, and we're using the receipt to pay off debt relating to Dreamland, which saves on borrowing costs. And we've taken back control of Margate Harbour Arm from the end of February this year, bringing back more money into the council. On environment and the climate, we've hired an education enforcement officer who is actively engaging with residents on waste and recycling to try and reduce the amount of waste, fire tipping, litter and dog fouling we produce. They have actively engaged with local schools and will be focusing on coastal issues with litter over this summer season. We have hired a new climate change officer who is coordinating and leading on the authority's response to climate emergency. They'll be developing the council's action plan further alongside new strategies for the council in relation to trees and biodiversity. Examples of some of the actions include a cheaper, greener energy deal for the council's gas and electricity and applying for external funding to decarbonise the council-owned Kent Innovation Centre. We have hired a home energy officer who is helping residents with low incomes to get support for home energy, heating and insulation. This has resulted in hundreds of residents referred to get support to install new cavity wall insulation, loft insulation and technology for hot water and heating. On top of this, we have accessed a wide range of new support schemes for families who have problems with fuel bills and struggle to keep the home warm. For more information, please contact the Council's Energy Advice Service. We are in the process of hiring 5 new full-time environmental operatives who will focus on open spaces and street cleansing. We have increased the number of recycling bins in Thanet. We are in the process of trialling recycling bins at Trove Court and Kennedy Court in Ramsgate, and we plan to expand the scheme. We hired portaloos for some of our busiest beaches where visitor numbers were extremely high. We have trialled a successful pedestrianisation scheme in Margate that allowed pedestrians to walk more freely through our town. And we have closed off parking outside Ramsgate's popular seafront restaurants and pubs, giving the businesses more space in the limited COVID-restricted summer we had. We have introduced a discount to the licence fee for hybrid and electric Hackney carriage and private hire vehicles and introduced electric taxi charging points in Birchington and Margate. And we have moved to electronic meetings. Thanks to our excellent hard work from our committee services manager and the digital team. And not only has this been a success, as tonight proves, it also reduces the associated carbon emissions of having face-to-face meetings, although I must admit to missing the in-person face-to-face meetings. On communities, we have taken control of East Kent Housing, which brings 3,400 council hire homes under TDC control. Our last check, there were no non-compliant properties in relation to gas safety checks, and we are on target to confirm that we are fully compliant by March of this year. To support residents going forward, we've also hired a new engagement officer so residents can more easily discuss issues with the council. We are undertaking long overdue works on our tower blocks and properties, ensuring that residents are safe and well protected, including work on fire safety, block security, lifts and CCTV. We have supported community groups such as Our Kitchen Food Club by finding suitable premises, which has allowed the organisation to attract national funding. Their work has received national recognition when Prime Minister Boris Johnson awarded them a Point of Light award. We are building more social housing, with Foy House in Margate, our first in-house temporary accommodation currently under construction. These actions look to address the 1,713 people currently on the housing waiting list. We have run our first 24-hour winter shelter, working alongside the award-winning RISE team, the Salvation Army and partner organisations, and will continue to look for ways to access and support our most vulnerable rough sleepers. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've organised and manned our COVID support line, still answering over 45 calls per week. And TDC staff have contacted over 8,200 residents known to be clinically extremely vulnerable directly, just to ensure that they have the support they need. And we have worked to ensure that the £20 increase to universal credit that has affected tens of thousands of our residents is not applicable to their council tax and housing benefit payments. So the £20 increase has really meant a £20 increase. Okay, so that was quick fire, but that's the update on the corporate statement. And I think we will agree that we are delivering concrete achievements. looking ahead, the budget for next year, 2022 to 2023, is looking even more difficult. And thanks to the lack of funding from this Conservative government, we'll most likely need to make additional savings or create new revenue on top of those made this year. It will be necessary to identify savings and revenue opportunities, both within the MTFS and other options, to ensure the successful running of this council. To conclude, as I've highlighted tonight with concrete examples, we believe that this council is achieving what we all set out to achieve in our 4-year plan. We are presenting a balanced budget that looks to support residents and businesses during this terrible pandemic, and we will continue to work hand in hand with the residents of Thanet. I move the council approves the budget.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Yates. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'm seconding that, Chairman. Councillor Alban.
Councillor Alban. I have allowed you a little longer, Councillor Yates, and therefore anybody else speaking, I shall likewise indulge with a little longer as well. Just to note, everyone, Councillor Day has joined the meeting and so therefore is present. I should now call on Councillor David Saunders to reply to Councillor Yates. Councillor Saunders, are you there?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, and I've managed to unmute. So here we go. Very short and sweet. Can I just say that in normal circumstances, as an opposition party with the largest representation within this authority, you would expect us to be making critical comment at this point. However, we are not in normal circumstances, and although there are elements of concern within the budget that's before us this evening, we appreciate the challenges presented to the service directors, particularly in achieving the necessary savings, and also the financial team in preparing a balanced budget whilst protecting essential services. We will therefore be supporting the recommendations. But that said, we will be monitoring progress throughout the forthcoming financial year and scrutinising as necessary once we get the quarterly figures coming through. That's all I need to say. No politicising on my part. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Saunders. And that was noted. You have strayed away from any political comment. I have Councillor Garner who would like to speak. Councillor Garner.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, we also recognise that we find ourselves in extraordinary times and that a number of factors, including both the pandemic and the drastic cuts to funding from central government, mean that the council faces an overspend of $850,000 to deal with, and we welcome the fact that there will be minimal impact on the delivery of frontline public services for residents. We'd also like to recognise and thank all staff who've worked so hard this year to help so many of our residents get through the pandemic and maintain delivery of essential services. We do, however, have an issue with the fact that the budget being presented to us this evening doesn't give enough consideration to the climate emergency that we as a council unanimously voted through 18 months ago, which means that we as a group will be abstaining from the vote this evening. Tackling the climate emergency should not be a nice to have, it should be considered in everything we do and every pound we spend. As an example, one area we know that needs extra funding is planning enforcement. We're already proposing policy changes to our local plan through the Climate Change Working Group and the Local Plan Review to make sure that all of the many new developments coming down the line comply with tougher climate emergency biodiversity conditions. We need to make sure that we build out our enforcement function to equip them to make sure the new local plan policies are actually implemented. We should be finding funding for that in a way that would be self-sustaining going forward and other climate emergency related schemes before finding funding for other projects like the installation of jet ski berths or some of the other six-figure projects in the port. If we do not prioritise addressing the issues raised by the climate emergency as a matter of urgency, an increasingly aware community, especially the young, who are concerned about climate change, will quite rightly question our priorities. We have to be seen to be committing to the changes required in planning, in waste management, in pollution management through control of traffic, and in support of clean energies, and also to be harnessing the skills, knowledge and commitment in the local community to work with us to do these things. If we wait any longer, it will be too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garner. I have Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just in response to Councillor Garner, I'd like to reassure him that the climate emergency, notwithstanding the pandemic, is obviously at the centre of an awful lot of the changes that have been made across departments. So, as you yourself said, this isn't a singular issue. This is something that affects everything. It affects every area. And so, although you may not find things under particular banners, if you think of housing in particular, we now have developments with solar panels, with underfloor heating, with extra insulation, with measures to try and ensure that both residents have as an easy time as possible in terms of bills, and also to ensure that our housing is as energy efficient as possible so that we can move to our zero carbon target. In terms of referencing Councillor Yates's earlier speech, obviously the work of the Energy Officer also contributes towards that. So what we're seeing really here is a crossover. What we're trying to do is work on this issue across all departments and within all policies. And so although you may not see things under particular banners or particular labels, rest assured work is happening within each department and within each cabinet role in order to make sure that those needs are prioritised. I'd also like to add a personal thanks to everybody who has worked throughout this pandemic. I know how hard so many of the officers have worked. I know how hard so many of our workers have worked. And I would also like to thank every single councillor who has done an outstanding job in an absolutely incredibly difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehead. I think that's very well said, and thank you for answering Councillor Garner so well. Call upon the leader, Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I don't intend to say very much. I mean, this is Councillor Yates' evening, really. I would like to thank all our officers, really, across the council for all the hard work that's gone into this budget process, particularly the finance officers, but not just the finance officers, because the budget building process does involve difficult choices. It does involve a lot of careful thought, and it has been, I think, a very good process. And I'm really reassured by the involvement of members. As in previous years, members have all had the opportunity to engage with the finance team throughout the process. The budget has been to cabinet and scrutiny. Scrutiny didn't recommend any changes, but obviously had some comments to make. And I absolutely respect that we bring it to council as one document with lots of different things in it, and it's constructive that we get on and pass it. I just wanted to say, in relation to Councillor Garner's comments about jet skis, clearly we would only introduce these jet ski berths at the harbour because we expect the council to make money out of them that can be spent on council services. So I don't quite understand the argument that it's not a financial priority. And certainly if there are other things which will generate more money for the council to provide services, then we're always happy to look at those. But it's not a choice between jet skis and other things which benefit the residents. There will be a benefit to residents. Personally, I'm not an enthusiast for jet skis, but I think that if we are going to have them, then they have to be properly managed, and the harbour is a good place from which they can be managed, where we have staff and where there can be proper oversight. So with that caveat, I thank the other members for their comments, and I hope everyone will vote for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Everett. I just noted, hard to imagine you on a jet ski. But anyway, now, any other comments? Do I have any other comments from members? No one else wishes to speak, so far as I can see. I need to advise that in accordance with Council Procedure Rule 17.6, I will call for a recorded vote on the motion or any amendments and substantive motions. So I therefore instruct the Deputy Monitoring Officer to conduct the recorded vote. Are you there?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair, thanks very much. Hello, members. So I'll read everybody's name out in alphabetical order. So Councillor Alban.
4.
Councillor Ara.
4.
Councillor Ashby,
4.
Councillor Bailey,
4.
Councillor Bambridge,
4.
Councillor Jill Bayford,
4.
Councillor Robert Bayford,
4.
Councillor Boyd,
4.
Councillor Coleman Cook,
4.
Councillor Crittenden,
4.
Councillor Curry,
4.
Councillor Day,
4. 4.
Councillor Dennis,
4.
Councillor Dexter,
4.
Councillor Duckworth,
4.
Councillor Everett,
4.
Councillor Farrance. I'm sorry, is Councillor Farrance here?
I don't believe I have his attendance registered.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fellows,
4.
Councillor Game,
4.
Councillor Garner,
Abstain.
Councillor Green,
4.
Councillor Gregory,
4.
Councillor Hart,
4.
Councillor Hopkinson, Councillor Hopkinson,
Sorry, 4.
thank you. Councillor Huxley,
4.
Councillor Cupp,
4.
Councillor Patmore,
4.
Councillor Paul Moore,
4.
Councillor Ovenden,
4.
Councillor Parsons,
4.
Councillor Linda Piper,
4.
Councillor Stuart Piper,
4.
Councillor Pugh,
Apologies, 4.
thank you. Councillor Rattigan,
4.
Councillor Rourke,
4.
Councillor Rogers,
4.
Councillor Roper,
Abstain.
thank you. Councillor Rozecki,
4.
Councillor David Saunders,
4.
Councillor Maeve Saunders,
4.
Councillor Savage,
4.
Councillor Scobie,
4.
Councillor Shrub,
4.
Councillor Tomlinson,
4.
Councillor Towning,
4.
Councillor Whitehead,
4.
Councillor Wing,
Abstain.
Councillor Wright,
4.
and Councillor Yates.
4.
Thank you very much. Let me just do a bit of counting up. Just to be absolutely sure. Just bear with me a moment. So I make that 45 for and 3 abstentions.
Thank you very much indeed, monitoring officer. Well, I think that went very smoothly, Council. So thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item 7. And this is the Member Allowances Scheme 2021-22. I move that recommendations as set out in the report be adopted. Would the Vice Chairman please second? Councillor Wright.
Second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, unless anyone objects to the proposal, I'll take it as agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 8, changes to committees, panels and boards for 2020-21 proportionality. I move the recommendation as detailed at paragraph 3.6.1 of the report be approved. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
Unless anyone objects to the proposal, I'll take it as agreed. Thank you. Now, on to nomination of members to serve on committees. Group leaders may take this opportunity to advise of any changes to their nominations to committees, panels and boards for the remainder of 2020-21. Councillor Everett, do you wish to advise of any nomination changes?
I do, Chair, and these are all to replace Councillor Campbell, who, as we know, is sadly in ill health. On the General Purposes Committee, Councillor Alban. On the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Curry, and on the Standards Committee, Councillor Scobie. I don't have a replacement as a reserve on the Planning Committee at this meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. That's noted, Councillor Everett. Councillor Ashby, do you wish to advise of any nomination changes?
Not this evening, thank you, Chair.
You perhaps may do in due course. Councillor Reverend Stuart Piper, do you wish to advise of any nomination changes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got one seat to move, and that would be Councillor Rizeki moving to planning to replace former Councillor Gary Taylor. And if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, if I could just take 30 seconds to say, not only from our political group's point of view, but I'm sure on behalf of the council, a message of thanks to former Councillor Taylor. He has been a very high-profile councillor, a very busy councillor. He's made the local media on a number of occasions because of the amount of work that he does. And all of this, particularly in the last 12 months, at a time when his work life, the post office and deliveries, has been so busy. He really has been, I think, a beacon of light to show how counselling could be done, and maybe some would say should be done. But thank you for letting me give a message of thanks to Gary Taylor for his service, and also remembering he was Vice Chairman of the Council for a time and performed that role very, very well indeed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Piper, and I'm happy to endorse that. I too have noted Councillor Taylor's appearances in the local media. Thank you very much. Councillor Garner, do you wish to advise of any nomination changes?
No nomination changes for me, although I will echo Councillor Piper's comments about Councillor Taylor. I know how busy he's been, and I know he's been very helpful to me on occasion when I started out as a councillor. So thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Garner. Before I close the meeting, I would just like to finish off by saying that I'm sure all of us here this evening wish very best wishes to Councillor Campbell, currently in hospital at the moment, and we all hope the best, very best for him. That concludes the business of the meeting of this council this evening. Thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you very much for a smooth meeting this evening. Good night.
Thank you,
Good
Chair.
night.